Hello, my name is Nikolaus Schafhausen. I'm the we call it strategic director of Vogel Island Arts. Vogel Island Arts is part of Shorefast. We'll come to this later. And I welcome, not my guests, the guests for the Art Toronto talk, Brenda Draney and Zita Kopp. Brenda Draney is an artist based in Edmonton, and Zita Kopp is the founder of Shorefast and the innkeeper of the very well-known Fogo Island Inn and the initiator of Fogo Island Arts. I would like to start, of course, with the situation. This event here is happening, like so many other events around the globe, only because of the pandemic we are all in. Otherwise, Art Toronto, I suppose, would have not pushed all the online events, the podcasts, and all other online events so drastically. To both of you, do you think this, in looking back to the last 7-8 months, did the situation change your idea about place and existence?
Well, I can maybe jump in, Nicholas, and say it has deepened my commitment to place, and I think made it obvious to all of us, if it wasn't before, that everything starts with place and ends with place. And I think what the pandemic is causing us to do, and you kind of alluded to this when you're talking about here we are online, it's actually causing us to think and work differently to connect places. And I think that's the great opportunity that's in front of us now, is to say, as we go forward, how has the relationship among and between places changed?
But how do you define place? At the very moment, for me, it's a Monday evening in Brussels, Belgium, and you are in Ottawa. It's Eastern Standard Time, 6 hours prior to my time, and Brenda, 9 hours being in Edmonton.
Well, my definition of place is very simple. It's geography, and time is just an invention anyway. So, you know, regardless of what time it is for me and Brenda and you, it all starts with physical, tangible, geographic place. That's what I mean by place.
Brenda, do you agree?
I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about, what I've been thinking about lately is I was able to go to Europe recently, to Germany, and I was also reading Ken Lum has an Instagram feed, and Ken Lum's Instagram is exceptional because he writes these beautiful explanations of the images underneath them. And at one point he was showing an image of an art fair or a public art project he was doing. I think it might have been in Hong Kong or something. And at any rate, he was talking about the privilege of travel, and that it is something that we had started to take for granted. And as someone, I have not traveled a lot, but the pandemic certainly highlighted for me what a privilege it was to be able to travel, and the obvious risks that existed as well. But it also highlighted the importance, the things that you cannot get done another way, the conversations that you might be able to have, and to try to connect to someone, to try to create an honest relationship, a real one. You need travel. You need to be able to be in the same place, I think.
Yeah, but we immediately can jump into your work. Your work has a lot to do with place, with where you come. Yeah, first of all, where you come from, but also where do you belong to emotionally, historically, or I'm wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And I think the other thing I think a lot about is when I was in my 20s or when I was in high school, especially high school, I felt like we had so much time to hang out with your friends, like this mundane kind of hanging out where you're just smoking cigarettes and, doing nothing else. Um, and in those times where you were doing nothing with your friends, where you were doing nothing with your family or, whatever, you were building and solidifying relationships. And I think in my paintings and in my work, there is, I think about that same thing, those inconsequential moments, those kind of non-events that we have that actually wind up being so important.
Brenda, I have to jump in because I think a lot these days, I always think about relationships as contrasted to transactions. And I think that what we all need to figure out how to do better is how to build a life that's built on relationships, not just transactions. And I think that's kind of a call to action we all have now when we rethink the economy, for example, is how do we make an economy that's based on relationships?
Yeah, and I think that maybe I worry about because when the pandemic happened, the solution seemed just put everything online, this conversation, transactions and everything, and then all relationships become sort of transactional, and I worry about that. I think that when I think about relationships that I want in my life, I certainly wouldn't want a transactional, based on what you can give or, what you can get.
Okay, staying a little bit hypothetical, the relationship, I think it goes for all people around the globe, what place at that very moment during the time of pandemic, the pandemic definitely changed. But do you think that we will come out in a better world?
No.
After this? No?
No. I feel like it's like better or worse, these equivocations. I don't know how that, first of all, works. What's better, what's worse? Because there's this idea of like people looking at, let's look at the time before this other time, those good old days that were so much better for who though, and for what context. So I think, and that's what I was saying, like we're going into an unknown time, but we always were before the pandemic, after the pandemic, we're always going to go into something unknown.
Yeah, but this is historically nothing new, So if you look back into the global wars, which not our generation went through, but which definitely shaped our lives in the last century and in this century. It's definitely too hypothetical. I also don't know what will come out, but I want to stay optimistic and positive. Yeah, I think this awareness of time, exchange, relationships, what you have said, Zita. So how we live together, how we communicate together, how we exchange goods, how we exchange time. I think this. I'm optimistic that we will be more focused when we get used to this situation. I even don't know if we will have a time after the pandemic. Maybe maybe we will stay in this kind of situation, but just different. Yeah, that we have to get used to such, we call it catastrophes, but it's also a question, is it one?
Well, all of history and life, we lurch from one kind of catastrophe to another. And the question is coming out of each one, do we come out wiser and more capable of making a dignified life for more people? I think that is, because we're living through this, it's not a pause, although the world feels a bit dislodged. We're not paused. Things are going on, but I think the knot of life is a little bit looser. And because it's a bit looser, I think it's easier to untie knots. And I am very optimistic that but only if we pay attention, and only if we actively work toward this. I think we can make some shifts in the institutions and processes that have favored too few at the expense of too many. And I think we can make shifts in our understanding of what has inherent value, like a simple thing like fresh air or a clean ocean. That I think before we were so busy rushing forward that we didn't take it seriously or something. I think we're taking these things more seriously. I think it's a really productive time now to be rethinking relationships. What is our relationship with the ocean? What is our relationship to nature? And how do our human systems support nature or undermine it?
Yeah, but also what is our relationship with art? Art was always existing, it's embedded, but at the same time a parallel system about everything what you were talking about: nature, place, existence. Yeah, it's about reflection. I think the role for artists, and I'm not talking about the institutions now, but for artists, for people who are producing, and also intellectuals who are producing thoughts, or people who are initiating such organizations, which you did, Zita, I think there will be people who will definitely better understand this, and I think there will be another mode also of production, in general of production, because we all overproduce thinking, but also products. Yeah. So if you look into the art system, and which is of course also driven a little bit by not only but also by the art markets, and we are speaking here in the framework of an art market, which all artists, but also people like me, are directly and indirectly dependent on. And but sometimes I'm worried about that so many artists reproduce themselves only to have production. Yeah? In former times, I called it one-trick pony when I see again the same painting twice or three times or four times, also the same idea. So Brenda, do you think people will produce less and more values? Or in inherent value, how Zita mentioned it?
I mean, I think that's tricky because I think the pandemic doesn't affect everybody equally, right? So I always think about my own practice. When I think about my own practice, I think about the privileges I've been afforded, the privilege of having a family and relationships in my life that have been supportive of my practice and have helped me. And that has allowed me to a luxury, and it is a luxury, to think about producing work for the sake of work. If I was a single mom raising some kids and I didn't have that kind of support network, I mean, you have to put food on the table, you have to pay the rent, so those people, and if they are artists too, I mean, what they might produce and why they might produce is quite different than me. But the other thing I was thinking about when we were talking about place is the a kind of thing I'm noticing. It's like it's like we let kids eat all the Halloween candy. We're all children, and they just said eat all the Halloween candy you want, in terms of watch all the Netflix, go onto all the internet sites that you love, do the VR, just get right into that technology, all that shit that you love, and dive in. And now we're becoming saturated. It's like we don't want it anymore. We're sick of looking at screens. We're sick of looking at everything online, shopping online, and talking online. And but we keep doing it because there's like a resistance to be where we are. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that is interesting. Yes. I mean, physically where we are, Brenda.
Yeah.
That is, that is such a interesting thing. I mean, I think you're right that for sure in the early days of this, the power of what you call reductive consumerism got stronger, because you could just stay in your pajamas all day and things would arrive at the door
Yeah.
miraculously. You could order everything, food, everything can arrive, and you can just consume whatever the candies are that are being streamed at you. And maybe that induces a kind of laziness, because it's a friction on the surface, it's a frictionless life.
Right.
And the thing about going out the door and figuring out what's going on out there and with the other people out there, well, first of all, we've been, told that it's dangerous, don't go out there. But secondly, it's not without friction, right? And you go out and discover, I mean, I'm in downtown Ottawa, and the city around me has completely changed in the last 7 or 8 months, however long we've been in captivity here. And
what has changed? Did shops close or couldn't,
things have closed. Every day you see businesses are disappearing. I mean, I think it's happening everywhere. Businesses disappearing. Certainly Ottawa has always had more than its share of people who are homeless. I see more. I don't know if there are more people who are homeless, but I think there are. But they certainly seem to be more. And so then, of course, all of that, when you go out and you see what looks like the erosion of the place you knew, that tends to cause you to retreat to the frictionless. And I think there's but I mean, I want to come back to the question that we were talking about earlier around, am I optimistic about how the world will evolve over the next months, and will we actually solve some of these problems of dignity that we have brought down on ourselves? And I think we can, but I think it does require us to do what you just said we're not doing, Brenda, which is we got to go out the door.
Well, but I think the other thing is, it's like, I wonder how many people live like, when in my life, I'm living in Edmonton, and it's fine. It's a nice place to be, but my community, the people that I connect with, they live in northern BC, they live in Berlin, they live in Brussels, they live all over. And so the place where I am physically is not a community that I would normally connect with.
Right, but if
we've learned to live this way, we've learned to live this way where we can physically live in one place, but have our community be somewhere else. And now that's somehow more difficult.
Right, but maybe there's an opportunity in that, because if your house catches on fire, it's actually the people that are where you are that can help you.
Right.
It's like when people are talking about the vaccine or vaccines and all of this. Well, will it come to where you are? Will it come to where I am? Will it be distributed in, wherever? I mean, I just think there's an opportunity actually to kind of make a new relationship with the place we are. And I think that offers a richness that we maybe haven't explored properly.
Maybe, but I think as an artist, I'm thinking about the questions Nikolaus posed earlier. How might my work change or something? Is that what you asked, Nikolaus?
Yeah, affected, I would say. So not changed, affected your work in general. This has nothing to do with the pandemic. Has a lot to do with your biography and where you come from and the place where you come from. Is that right?
My work has to do with my biography.
Yes.
I would say, so do most artists.
Lots of artists would oppose. I would say no way. I think
maybe the white heterosexual men for whom neutrality is a given, and that's pretty luxurious.
Yeah, okay, those people, then you also could, no, it's not only heterosexual white men, it's also, I know a lot of specific conceptual women artists who want to degender their work, yeah? So, and that's historically. Okay.
Yeah, but they want to because they don't get that neutrality. The desire is only there because they were not given the choice.
Yes, no, I agree. But that would be a completely different discussion. But what, you know, art in general, but I also know it from my work, and I think also Zita, we want to do two different opposing things. We want to create, but we also want to react. Yeah, on the current situations in which we are living in. Is that right? Yeah? It means we always carry where we come from or what we have done.
Mhm.
Yeah, but the present time is the current time in which we are living is definitely shaping the knowledge production, if I may say so. Art is knowledge production, and it's shaping the piece. So you have worked on an exhibition in the city of Munich during the time of the pandemic. Do you think your work would have been different if you would have produced it before the pandemic?
Well, the quick answer is yes, of course. I think my work would be different if it weren't in a pandemic, if I weren't a woman, if I weren't Indigenous, if it were Tuesday instead of Thursday. Like, I think all those things affect the practice. But I don't think I'm setting out. I think I feel like I did not set out to make work sort of about the pandemic or about the difference, because I'm too close. I'm in it right now, and I can't see it clearly. So I feel like I'm just doing work about what is going on, what is in my mind and in my world. Or as Kara Walker would have it, the temple of my familiar. And I sort of stay there and I do that work. And I think that if we were to be able to take a long view and look at my work over all the years, there's probably, let's say I'm like 150, and we look over all my work once I'm 150, we're going to be able to find this was when the pandemic was, this is when she tried heroin, this is, or whatever the hell it is, right?
Brenda, when you're making work, is it part of it that you're orienting yourself or orienting in whatever is happening and has happened? Because I just think that one of the things that's going on during this pandemic is we're all a bit exhausted because we're all trying to orient, it's like walking on a beach that's filled up with kelp. It's all very slippery. And so orienting is really hard. But is art about orienting in some way?
You know what I've been thinking about lately? Like, maybe this is not good for this talk. I don't know. But I've been thinking lately about how if I could just catch some moments that I have seen or experienced or heard about, if I can just catch a fucking moment, then that offers something about a way to be in the world. And it seems so simple to say in this way, but that, maybe it is that simple. Maybe it is just having a viewer be able to apprehend or see one way of being in the world. And it, like, a very simple moment with specificity that can call you to this, like a coffee table, like a kitchen table. I talk a lot about kitchen tables when I talk about my work.
Kitchen tables I'm sitting on my kitchen table, so this is probably one of the most important furniture. That brings me also, if we see the place where we have all met, Fogo Island, if we can talk a little bit about Fogo Island. Kitchen table has also a lot to do with hospitality, so inviting guests. Kitchen table has a lot to do with with a pub, you know. So
Well, in
a
Newfoundland, there's
private
the
pub.
kitchen party is the quintessential social gathering is the kitchen party, which at this
Yeah,
moment, we're
yeah,
not
and
about kitchen
in
parties.
yeah, through all the cultures around the globe. Yeah, so that is this is also something what unifies us, you know. So we don't need to understand the language of the other person. Yeah.
When I
So
did a residency at Fogo
yeah,
Island, I was doing my residency during a time when it was fall going into winter. So there's a lot of the stores had closed and restaurants and all of this. But I never noticed, like it didn't, like, I mean, I noticed, but it didn't feel like a big loss because there were shed parties and people had house parties and you kept going to somebody's house for dinner and you would go to somebody's house to learn how to cook this, learn how to make that. My friend Dee and I have very clear, beautiful, my most beautiful treasured memories are coming back, like painting at the studio and watching the sun over the ocean, like shut up. And then you walk back along the shore during the sunset, and I would stop and watch it and walk and then stop and watch it. And then Dee and I would go to the grocery store, pick up some food. And then the house that they put me up in became a home. It became a real home. So I would start the fire, she would start the food. I would be her sous chef. We would sit and drink wine and sip water, talk about architecture, talk about art, sitting by the wood stove. You know, like it slowed everything down and it made everything, the important things clearer. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful time.
And you knew how to be in the world, Brenda. Like it was obvious, right? You just were. It told
Yeah.
you. I think that's the magical place, right? When it's a place that's pressing on you, as Fogo Island presses on you, because it's such a powerful kind of natural place, you kind of know what to do with yourself.
You know, you're right. And I see that now because when I've gone to Europe, the couple times that I did, there were ways that I was living that I really loved. And I tried to bring them back, but they don't translate. I can never seem to bring them back to Edmonton.
I think that's, so maybe you haven't surrendered fully to Edmonton, Brenda. Maybe there's out your door something you don't know yet. You haven't.
Yeah, I keep thinking that sometimes, actually. I don't know, like I love Edmonton. I loved it before certain people were in political power, but you know, I'll love it after those people go away.
but
Well, the place will endure. Companies will come and go. Political leaders will come and go, but place will be place.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know, we, at least to me, I have certain leitmotifs under which I live. You know,
sorry, say it again.
Leitmotifs, as it means when this is a good thing for me to get older. Yeah, life gets more and more complex, which I think is a good thing. So, and it's leitmotifs, as it means that mini topic, how I will want to shape my long-term future, my short-term future, and my history. So, and I want to come back to that kitchen table.
But we only have 1 minute left, so we do our talk. I wish we had longer at the kitchen table, but we have 1 minute.
Yeah, I know. So, but we can also leave it with a kitchen table. Yeah, I think the kitchen table as a metaphor. I think it's extremely important for all of us around the globe. Yeah. So if we all find a definition of the kitchen table, what the kitchen table means to us for the current time, for the future, and for place, it means global place, virtual place, and translate this into art and economy, I think we are safe.
we have to figure out how to zoom in and zoom out from one table to another. And it can't be two-dimensional. As much as I love being with the two of you here in this way.
I know. No, think about, remember, I want this 1920s, like Dionysian wine and roses. We'll do the whole thing.
Without the depression following, just the party.
No, just the party part. But like, I do love the idea, Nicolaus, of the kitchen table, because the kitchen table that I sit at in Brussels is beautiful, but it's much different than the one in Germany. It's also beautiful, which is much different than the one in Edmonton, which is different than the beautiful wooden table in Fogo Islands.
Well, we will go together there again, Brenda.
Yeah, but this is why, this is why we produce on Fogo Island very beautiful kitchen tables. I think they need new titles, Zita. Kitchen table. Yes. The kitchen table.
The sense of place kitchen table.
Yeah. So thank you both. Thank you, Art Toronto, for organizing this. The three of us, we have learned something, and I hope we have a virtual audience who want to know more. Then you have to dive into our programs, and see you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you.